We are just 24 hours away from NFL free agency getting underway. So here on Chargers Now, I am your host, Will Ortner. We are going to dive into the free agent targets that I want the Chargers to go after because the Chargers have already been very active, even in the build-up to NFL free agency, which I think is very important to mention. We talked about the signing of center Tyler Biadasz, as well as the signing, or re-signing, I should say, of edge rusher Khalil Mack. And that is why you subscribe to the channel. Here's what's very important about Khalil Mack and him coming back is that as soon as the news broke, we had a video out to you. It was an off day. Producer Cyril, myself, we were at home. Guess what? As soon as the news broke, we still got a video out to you as fast as we could. That's why you hit the subscribe button, so that way you keep up with all the latest and greatest news on the LA Chargers. So we're going to start first with some rumors, especially on the trade rumor standpoint, and then that'll lead into why we're getting into certain trade targets. Of course, A.J. Brown and Quentin Johnston, there are rumors swirling around both of those right now. Starting with A.J. Brown, coming to us from the Athletics' Diana Rossini, NFL Insider. Not a lot of people, I think, really had the Chargers as a potential landing spot for A.J. Brown, but it does sound like they are a team that is at the very least sniffing around A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles, potentially trying to bring Brown over to L.A. I think he would be a great number one wide receiver for this Chargers team. One, because he's done it before. He's big, strong, and physical, a role that Quentin Johnston holds right now, but would very easily go to A.J. Brown, number one. And then two, that should open up more things for a guy by the name of Ladd McConkey, making it easier for him to get open and get his catches down below. So the more and more that I think about it, it makes sense on the surface of why the Chargers would want to go after A.J. Brown. But when you look at how general manager Joe Ortiz typically handles these situations, I would say that this does seem unlikely. Right now, the Eagles want at least a first-round pick for Brown and maybe potentially even more capital to be given up for A.J. Brown. Seems like a pretty steep price. Now, that being said, the Chargers are clearly in a position where they are making a lot of big moves to try and become a Super Bowl champion this year, not just in the future. But I do think it's a little bit steep to go and get A.J. Brown for that. Next, when we're diving over to Quentin Johnston, Jeremy Fowler put out his news and notes just ahead of NFL free agency, and this is what he had to say on Quentin Johnston. Also, Brown isn't the only receiver potentially available. Baltimore's Rashod Bateman, Los Angeles' Quentin Johnston, and Green Bay's Dontayvion Wicks have come up in my talks. Now, if the Chargers were to move on from Quentin Johnston, that would make some sense. He's got his fifth-year option coming up here, and the Chargers have a decision to make. Do they want to sign him to that fifth-year extension, or do they want to try and move on from him, get some potential capital back? This kind of leads into my first free agent target, and I think the reason that I have Alec Pierce at number 5 is simply just because of the cost that he would take to have to be able to bring him in. When you look at Alec Pierce, it feels like every single year he gets better, and last year was kind of the peak of what he can be. He's a tall wide receiver, strong, very physical, still pretty young, only 25 years old, so still got a ways to go growing into being the primetime performer that we know that he could and can be. When we look at Alec Pierce in his entire career, it's important to note that each year he has gotten better and better and better. Now, he is known for kind of being an expert in one main route, and that, of course, is running a vertical route, getting open very deep. But I would say that he is underrated in some other avenues of his game. It's also important to mention who the quarterbacks are that are throwing him the football in Indianapolis. Daniel Jones last year obviously helped kind of jump Alec Pierce forward, but I would also say that it's not like Anthony Richardson was doing the right things with the football with Alec Pierce as his wide receiver. I go back to how expensive he's going to be. The rumored number right now is $27 million a year. Makes sense why Alec Pierce would want to hit free agency. The Chargers have the cap space available to pay that. Do they want to pay that? I would probably say no, but it does feel like the Chargers aren't afraid to throw some money around right now. Next player that I want to talk about is a man by the name of Charlie Kolar. Now, he's not going to be a big, sexy tight end potential snag here for the Chargers, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to look at his stat line for this year and say, I don't want Charlie Kolar anywhere near this Chargers team. What I will tell you is this. Kolar is a fantastic fantastic run blocker, and you just got rid of Will Dissly. And so I think that you could use Kolar to add into this team in one key avenue, and that is opening up this run game. Now, obviously, Mike McDaniel, he likes to do a lot of 12 personnel. Don't be shocked if he's using Kolar a lot because he likes how he's able to open up those run lanes. 12 personnel, by the way, that's 2 tight ends. How do you feel about the Chargers' recent signings? Let me know down below in the comment section. Are you happy with them? Are you mad at them? Are you excited? Let me know what your personal opinion is. I'll tell you right now, I am pretty jacked up at who the Chargers were able to sign and re-sign. I think Joe Ortiz has been nailing it right now. Next free agent target that I want to look at is going to be on the offensive line. Now, you've already locked down your center position for the future, but you still need to lock down those guard spots. I think Alijah Vera-Tucker would be a solid guard addition to this team. Now, it's important to mention with a guy by the name of Alijah Vera-Tucker that he is a very strong player. He's an efficient player, but he's also the type of player that has had to battle some different injuries in the past. So when Alijah Vera-Tucker has been healthy, I like everything that he's doing on the football field. In fact, I think that he'd be a great addition to this squad. The problem with Alijah Vera-Tucker is that if the Chargers are going to go after him, they have to make sure that he does stay healthy or they have a good, strong backup plan for him. This isn't necessarily an attack on him. This is a trusting of the strength staff in LA. This is a trusting of Vera-Tucker to stay healthy, because if he is able to stay healthy, that's a pretty darn good offensive lineman that's going to open up a lot of holes. He was doing that in New York for Breece Hall. He could easily do that for Marion Hampton in LA. Next player that we got to talk about, guess what? I'm sticking with that offensive line. And if you can't tell, I freaking love Isaac Seumalo. I've been very high on the guard who was previously with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he's an older player. He's someone who's been around the block a little bit, but he does everything extremely well. And I think that's what's most important to talk about. Now, he's not going to jump off the page to anyone. Again, another player that isn't going to be an unbelievably sexy pick here. But this is where the Chargers need to get better. They need to get better in the offensive line room and in the interior offensive line crew. When you look at how many pressures Seumalo gives up, it's minimal, and that's going to give Justin Herbert more peace of mind, more comfortability. When I look at Isaac Seumalo, I've already told you enough about how much I love him. I want him in LA as a Chargers interior offensive lineman. Last player that we need to talk about is the great Odafe Oweh. I want him back in LA, and I think he's going to get signed tomorrow. The question is, to whom? I know that the Chargers want to find a way to bring him back because it feels like every single year Odafe Oweh continues to get better and better. Here's the best news possible, by the way. Now that Max Crosby is in Baltimore, it does not feel like they have a position where Odafe Oweh can play. They do not have a spot for Odafe Oweh, so that does mean that it makes it more likely that he's going to come back to LA, and potentially it can mean that he is a cheaper price. Now, it is important to note that the Dallas Cowboys, they got some money, and they're going to throw some money around in the edge rusher room, but I do think that the Chargers, if they want to, can make sure that they go out and get Oweh back. In my personal opinion, bring the band back together. You already went out and you got Khalil Mack to re-sign. Go sign Odafe Oweh. You can extend Thule here in a couple of weeks and just run this defense back. You know, Coach O'Leary really wants to build a similar style and strength type of defense, just like Jesse Minter had last year. You can do the exact same thing with the exact same players. Get the band back together, run it back, and watch this Chargers team absolutely explode next year, because the defense will be just as good, if not better, and the offense, I think the sky's the limit there. Which player do you want the Chargers to sign in free agency? Let me know down below in the comment section. It can be one of the players that I talked about, or it can be someone completely different. Just make sure that you let me know loud and proud. I gave you my targets, my top 5 targets for the Chargers heading into day 1 of NFL free agency. You can give me at least your number 1. We're going to make sure that we do this or something similar to this throughout the entire week, so make sure that you hit that sub button. We are going to have videos for you as soon as news breaks on who signs with the Chargers or re-signs with the Chargers. And then we will have videos throughout the year of 2026 on the Los Angeles Chargers that you do not want to miss. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video, and bolt up.